What if I told you that your entire future, the way you feel, the way you think, and the way you succeed could be transformed by just one simple habit? Not 10, not 5, just one. And the best part, you already have the power to start it today. We often believe that big changes require big actions, that if we want a better life, we need to move mountains, chase opportunities, or completely reinvent ourselves. But here's the truth. Real transformation begins with something so small, so simple, that most people ignore it. And that's exactly why you need to listen carefully today. Because by the end of this speech, you'll walk away with the one habit that has the power to reshape your mindset, multiply your energy, and set your life on a completely different. Now imagine waking up every morning with more focus, clarity, and drive without having to rely on motivation or willpower. Imagine knowing exactly what to do to stay consistent in your goals, no matter how many times you've failed before. That's the promise of this one habit. Body, this one habit is consistency in small actions. The world doesn't reward the person who starts, it rewards the person who continues. Motivation will get you moving for a day, maybe a week, but consistency builds momentum, and momentum creates results. Think about it. You see, when we talk about change, most people think it has to be dramatic. They believe they need a total life overhaul to feel different, to be different, to succeed. They imagine they have to wake up tomorrow, become an entirely new person, and sprint toward their goals at full speed. And that's why so many people quit before they even start. The mountain feels too high, the weight feels too heavy, the challenge feels too overwhelming. But here's the truth. Big changes never start with big leaps. They start with small, often invisible steps that compound over time. It's not the giant moments that transform you, it's the little habits, repeated day after day, that quietly and consistently build into something extraordinary. Think about it. Nobody gets healthy overnight. Nobody becomes financially free in a week. Nobody builds deep, meaningful relationships in a single conversation. Real growth, the kind that lasts, is the result of small daily action. It's brushing your teeth every morning and night, not just once in a while. It's saving a few dollars consistently, not just winning the lottery. It's choosing to show up for yourself in ways so small that at first, they don't even look like progress. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you got frustrated with yourself because you didn't see results fast enough? Maybe you started a workout routine and gave up after 2 weeks because the scale didn't move. Maybe you tried reading more, but stopped after a month because you didn't feel smarter yet. That's the trap. We underestimate the power of small actions because they don't give us instant gratification. But success doesn't care about instant results. Success is built on patience and persistence. And when you truly understand that big changes are born from small habits, you free yourself from the pressure of perfection. You no longer need to climb the whole mountain today, you just need to take the next step. Let me give you a perspective shift. Imagine placing a single drop of water on a stone every day. 1 drop won't change the stone. 10 drops won't either. But over time, those drops carve a path through solid rock. That's the power of small habits. On their own, they seem weak, but together over time, they reshape everything they touch. So don't underestimate the little things you do each day. Waking up 15 minutes earlier to plan your morning, replacing soda with water once a day, writing down 1 sentence of gratitude before. These may seem tiny, almost laughable, compared to the big changes you want, but those are the seeds of transformation. And when you nurture them daily, they grow into roots so deep that nothing can shake them. Because big changes don't happen in one massive moment. They happen in hundreds of quiet moments, stacked one on top of the other. And it all begins with one small habit. Motivation is a funny thing. It feels so powerful in the moment, doesn't it? You watch an inspiring video, hear an uplifting story, or get fired up about a new goal, and for a while you feel unstoppable. You think, this time, I've got it. This time, nothing's going to stand in my way. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, that's true. But then something happens. Life gets busy. You get tired, things don't go as planned, and suddenly that spark of motivation fades. You wake up one morning, and you don't feel like it anymore. The energy's gone, the excitement's gone, and without realizing it, you slip right back into old patterns. That's the problem with relying on motivation. It's temporary. It's like fuel that burns hot, but runs out. If your progress depends on how motivated you feel, you'll always be stuck in a cycle of starting strong, burning out, and starting over again. That's why so many people feel like they're stuck in the same place year after year. They're waiting for motivation to carry them, when motivation was never designed to carry anyone. What actually carries you forward isn't motivation, it's consistency. It's the ability to keep showing up, even when you don't feel like it. It's choosing discipline over mood, action over excuses, and progress over perfection. Motivation might get you moving, but consistency is what keeps you moving. And that's the difference between the people who only dream of changing their lives and the ones who actually do it. Think about the gym. On day one, you're excited, maybe even a little nervous, but you're motivated. You put in the work, sweat it out, and feel good afterward. Day two, the soreness hits, and the motivation isn't quite as strong. By day 5, when it's raining outside, or you've had a long day at work, that motivation might be gone completely. But the people who transform their bodies aren't the ones who only show up when they feel like it. They're the ones who keep going anyway. They understand that it's not about being motivated every single day, it's about being consistent enough that it becomes a part of who you are. The same is true in every area of life. A motivated student might study hard the night before a test, but a consistent student reviews their notes a little bit every day, and that's the one who ends up mastering the subject. A motivated entrepreneur might work hard for a month, but a consistent one builds habits that keep their business growing for years. Motivation creates a spark, but consistency builds the fire that lasts. So here's the shift. Stop waiting to feel motivated. Start training yourself to be consistent. Do it whether you feel like it or not. Show up on the days when it's easy, but more importantly, show up on the days when it's not. Because in the end, motivation might open the door, but consistency is what walks you through it. And consistency is what changes your life. We often overlook the quiet power of small daily actions because they feel insignificant in the moment. Reading just a few pages of a book each day, writing a few sentences in a journal, taking a short walk, or saving a small amount of money, these things feel tiny, almost meaningless. But here's the truth. Tiny actions, repeated consistently, compound into results that can be astonishing over time. It's not the one-time effort or the occasional burst of activity that shapes your life. It's the accumulation of small deliberate steps. Imagine planting a single seed in the ground. At first, nothing seems to happen. You water it, give it sunlight, and wait. A week goes by, a month goes by, and still nothing. Most people give up at this stage. They see no immediate growth, no instant reward, and they assume their efforts are wasted. But if you continue to care for that seed day after day, eventually it sprouts. And then over weeks and months, that tiny sprout grows into a strong plant, and eventually, if nurtured long enough, it bears fruit. That's the power of compound action. The same principle applies to your goal. Writing 200 words a day may not feel like progress, but 6 months later, you have a manuscript. Reading 10 pages a day may seem insignificant, but a year from now, you've absorbed knowledge from over a dozen books. Saving a few dollars daily may feel trivial, but in a few years, you'll have a sum large enough to invest, travel, or start something meaningful. These small actions aren't flashy, and they rarely make headlines, but they quietly transform your reality. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for the perfect time or the perfect circumstances to start. They think I'll start when I have more time, more money, or more energy. But if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll be waiting forever. Real change happens when you start small, start today, and trust that the little things will build on one another. Every action, no matter how small, is a brick in the foundation of your future. It's also important to notice the ripple effect of tiny daily action. One small habit can trigger another. Reading a little every day might inspire you to write. Writing a little every day might encourage you to organize your thoughts and plan your week. Saving a little money daily might push you to invest wisely and think strategically about your finance. These actions compound not just numerically, but in influence, shaping your habits, mindset, and opportunities. So the lesson is simple. Stop underestimating the power of small, consistent actions. Stop dismissing them because they seem too minor. Focus on showing up, doing your part every day, and trusting the process. Over time, those tiny efforts will add up in ways you can't even imagine. Small daily actions aren't just habits, they are the engines of transformation. One of the most misunderstood concepts about success is intensity. People believe that to achieve something remarkable, you need to work harder, push further, and burn yourself out. They think that the person who spends every waking hour hustling is the one who will win. But here's the reality: intensity alone doesn't create long-term results. Intensity can give you a burst of progress, a momentary rush, even a short-term win, but it cannot sustain growth over time. What actually determines lasting success is momentum, and momentum is built through steady, consistent effort, not sporadic bursts of energy. Think about it like riding a bicycle. You can push yourself as hard as possible for a few seconds, but if you don't keep pedaling, you stop. Momentum is what keeps the wheels turning, even when the terrain gets tough. It's not about how fast you go in a sprint, it's about building a rhythm that carries you forward without constant strain. Every small, deliberate pedal stroke compounds, and eventually you're moving faster, further, and with more ease than you ever imagined possible. That's what momentum does in life. It multiplies your efforts, makes progress feel effortless, and keeps you going when you might otherwise quit. The same principle applies to habits and actions. One day of extreme effort might feel heroic, but it won't create lasting change. One day of consistent, steady action, repeated over weeks and months, builds momentum that compounds into real transformation. It creates a self-reinforcing cycle. The more you do, the easier it becomes to continue doing. And the further you go, the more you gain. Momentum feeds itself, and before you know it, what once felt difficult has become second nature. Momentum also protects you during the inevitable low points. Life is full of distractions, setbacks, and days when motivation disappears entirely. On those days, momentum carries you. When you've built a foundation of steady action, the small wins you've accumulated act like a snowball rolling downhill. They keep moving, gaining size and speed, even when the slope gets rocky. Without momentum, setbacks feel crushing, and progress can stall. With momentum, even minor actions are enough to keep you moving forward. Another way to look at it is compounding results over time. Momentum allows your efforts to add up, layer by layer, until the impact is far greater than the sum of the individual actions. It's why someone who shows up every day, even in small ways, will often outperform someone who works intensely, but inconsistently. Momentum is the quiet force behind extraordinary achievements. It's invisible at first, but once it starts, it's unstoppable. So the lesson is clear: stop chasing intensity. Stop believing that burning yourself out for a few hours will define your success. Focus on building momentum through consistent, deliberate action. Keep pedaling, day after day, and trust that momentum will carry you further than effort alone ever could. Momentum is the real multiplier of success. Every life-changing journey begins with a single choice, and that choice is often deceptively simple: choosing one habit and committing to it. Most people want to transform their lives, but they try to do too much at once. They want to exercise, eat perfectly, read more, meditate, save money, network, learn a new skill, and change every part of their daily routine overnight. And that's exactly why so many fail. They spread themselves too thin. Real transformation doesn't require multiple habits at once. It requires focus, commitment, and mastery of one habit that, when executed consistently, creates a ripple effect throughout your life. Choosing one habit isn't about limiting yourself, it's about creating leverage. It's about understanding that small, deliberate action in one area can influence everything else. If you pick the habit of waking up an hour earlier every day, you suddenly have time to exercise, plan, read, or work on personal goals. If you commit to writing daily, you improve your clarity of thought, communication skills, and discipline, and over time, this habit can open doors you didn't even anticipate. One habit done consistently reshapes your identity, and identity reshaping is the engine of lasting change. The power of focusing on one habit lies in its ability to simplify your life. When you try to change too many things at once, it creates overwhelm, confusion, and inconsistency. You start strong, but the energy required to maintain multiple habits drains. By concentrating on just one, you can give it your full attention, refine it, and integrate it into your life so deeply that it becomes automatic. And once a habit becomes automatic, it requires almost no conscious effort to maintain, yet the benefits compound endlessly. Another crucial aspect is the ripple effect. One positive habit often triggers the development of others. If you commit to exercising daily, you may find yourself eating healthier, sleeping better, and thinking more clearly. If you commit to reading each day, your perspective broadens, your creativity improves, and your conversations become richer. One habit, properly chosen and nurtured, influences multiple areas of your life, creating momentum that extends far beyond the initial action. It also teaches you the power of discipline and patience. Transformation is rarely instant, but when you stick to one habit consistently, you build resilience, trust in your own abilities, and confidence that you can follow through. This confidence becomes contagious, giving you the courage to tackle bigger challenges and more ambitious goals. Mastery of one habit proves to yourself that change is possible, and that proof is the foundation for all future growth. So the message is simple, yet profound. Don't get lost in the idea of changing everything at once. Choose one habit, commit to it daily, nurture it until it becomes part of who you are, and let it transform your life from the inside out. One habit, done consistently, can change everything.